Call the January 7th special call board meeting for zoning to order. First thing on the agenda is the pledge led tonight by Rockvale Principal Steve Luker.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Luker. All right. Proposed zone lines for Rockvale High School and Rocky Fork Elementary. Mr. Spurlock, where we start?
Good evening, and we'd like to thank for each one of you for coming out tonight. Also, we'd like to thank those that has provided information on these feedback on the proposed zoning lines. Tonight we will begin with presenting the Rockvale rezoning plan, and it will be followed by the Rocky Fork Elementary rezoning plan. After reviewing each plan, audience members will be provided a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on the plan. For those who wish to speak about the Blackman Collegiate Academy in Seven Oaks, the board and myself would respectfully request that you allow individuals who have not had the opportunity to speak previously in the previous meetings we've had. Let them speak first. After hearing and reading the feedback from the previous rezoning meetings, the board would like to make the following decisions known. Seniors impacted by all rezoning will be grandfathered. Rising sophomores through 12th grade students currently enrolled in the Blackman Collegiate Academy will be grandfathered. All right, at this time, we will start with the Rockvale High School rezoning plan.
So I'd like to show you an overview of what our current high school map looks like at the moment. And I'll just go over briefly what today's membership in our school district are. For Blackman High School, we have a current enrollment of 2413. Eagleville is at 980. Laverne is at 904. Oakland, 2,270. Riverdale, 2102, Siegel, 1759, Smyrna, 1980, and Stewart's Creek at 2234. And again, those are today's, these are the numbers for the last day of school for the last semester. So moving forward, the plan as it stands has the current proposed lines. And I'm going to go over the figures as they stand versus as of the 19th of last month versus what we would like to take them to this plan. Again, Blackman High School was at 2413 this year. It would drop to 1740. Eagleville's high school program is at 404. That would drop to 247. Laverne, 1904. It actually rises slightly, 1942. Oakland is at 2270, and that would be 1742. Riverdale is at 2102. That would end up at 1879. Siegel, 1759, that would end up at 1757. Smyrna High School, 1980, that would end up at 1979. Then Stewart's Creek, 2234, would go down to 1844, and that would leave Rockvale's new zone at 2038. One thing also to remember, we do not have a growth percentage in on the final numbers, which are usually 2.5 to 3%.
This also wouldn't include any grandfather.
That's exactly right. That's literally if you were to take this year's numbers and apply them to next year. You want me to?
The heat map. Kind of look at the Blackman zone and in that area, in the western area, kind of look at where the the growth is impacted. The dark, the redder it is, of course, we see the dots there, but when you see the red, that shows high density.
So the colors change as you get closer to the ground because you're showing a more densified area in a smaller grouping. So, for example, one of the reasons that we split the line where we did between Blackman and Rockvale, for example, was you can see the pockets of density on the north side of Highway 99, and also you see a large pocket there in the Kaysen Lane, St. Andrews area south of Franklin Road.
Slide that down, pull it out a little bit.
Yes.
Let's look at the north side. Let's look at the north side of the Blackman zone. Okay, so as you can see here, the thing that's kind of unique about the Blackman zone is the density it's really compacted. And quite frankly, as we go forward and we see more growth on the south side, Blackman's zone would be, I mean, if we didn't do anything rezoning, we could probably hit 2,800 within 2 years. Currently at Blackman Middle School, there's approximately 1,490 kids, about 510 are 8th graders. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're going to show the pockets there with the Blackman broken out by the areas.
Yes, sir. You are talking about the
Yes,
actual
what you showed, earlier.
Yeah. So this gives you an idea of what exactly we're moving and where to. So this 403 number is currently at Stewart's Creek High School, and it would go to Blackman. The area that would basically it would be replacing and help to reduce that number is approximately 1,100 from the south side of Highway 96 that are all currently in the Blackman zone. Again, that number is going to be slightly different because of high school or because of 12th grade grandfather and also the BCA program. So it's probably going to end up more around, I would imagine, somewhere around 900. But that section comes from there. And it makes up one of the 3 core pieces of the Rockvale zone. So you can see there's, in Rockvale itself, because it's still pretty rural, you have 284. On this side, we're taking from Riverdale 533. And then we're dispersing, redispersing some of the core of the downtown area. It'll pick up 56 from Riverdale and 41 from Oakland. As we kind of move around the downtown area, we've taken 533 away from Riverdale. We're adding 493 from the south side of the current Oakland zone. We're also trading space for that from Siegel High School. This also marries the line between the middle school and the high school along Highway 231, gives Oakland 99 back. And we're also in that dispersing of the downtown, taking another 69 from Oakland and shifting it over to Siegel High School.
One of the questions has always been asked about the discrepancy between the middle school zone and the high school zones. We can first start off by talking about the size of the core for each one of the buildings. Typically in a middle school, you're looking at somewhere between 800 and 1,000 students core. In high school, our large comprehensive high school is either 2,000 or as Rockvale, I think it's 2,300. So what that requires sometimes is it does require a little different look in terms of which one is your feeder school and which one's the other feeder school for the high school. So there will be some issues like that. The more dense you become as a zone, the less issues you have with that. Like I said, currently, Blackman, for example, there's a possibility some would be zoned for Blackman Middle School, yet be zoned for Rockvale High School. And that just has to do with the area in which you're talking about and also the capacity of the school.
That's it.
Okay, at this time, we're going to allow those that want to speak on behalf of the Rockvale rezoning plan to come to the mic, and you have 3 minutes each to speak.
Hello, good evening. My name is Gloria Shard, and my daughter is Taylor Goodman, an 8th grader at Blackman Middle. We live in a community on the west side of Record Lane, near Highway 96, and have been affected by the proposed rezoning. Taylor has attended Blackman School since we moved to Rutherford County in 2nd grade. She came to Blackman Elementary, a shy and timid 7-year-old. Sorry. Worried about making friends at her school, and that was very difficult for her previously. Taylor made some wonderful friends at her new school, and that was she was very happy to do so, and they are still best friends today. Also during 2nd grade, during the annual homecoming parade, Taylor was introduced to the Blackman High School cheerleading team and quickly grew to admire and look up to those girls. She told me, when I grow up, I want to be a Blackman High School co-ed cheerleader and then cheer in college. Being active in gymnastics, we realized her new goal and switched her to cheer and tumbling classes. I watched my daughter's confidence in herself grow as she excelled in cheerleading and became more disciplined with her schoolwork and with the support of her teachers at Blackman Elementary. She became involved in choir, beta club, and in her 5th year, she was nominated and served as the student body vice president. Taylor's friends, teacher support, and feeling of community have continued with her on to Blackman Middle. She has continued with Beta Club as an honor student and has made the Blackman Middle cheerleading team in 7th and 8th grade and constantly works day and night on all her skills she knows she needs to make the Blackman High School co-ed cheerleading team. In addition to being active in cheerleading with the encouragement of her friends and coaches, last year Taylor stepped out of her comfort zone when she joined the track team. She quickly found that while it was a tough sport, she enjoyed the mental and athletic challenge, and now says she loves to run. The Blackman Middle girls track team had a great season last year under their coach's leadership with many successes, including county champions. Taylor is in 8th grade now and is one of those 510 that you just mentioned from Blackman Middle, and because of our location, she will not be able to go to the high school. She has goals, wanting to make the Blackman co-ed cheerleading team, and also had set goals to make straight A's this year to be able to join the Blackman Collegiate Academy as a freshman. She truly desires to get ahead with her collegiate studies and hopes to graduate early and enter medical school, as she decided at a young age she wanted to be a doctor that specializes with the care of children with special needs. She knows this will require hard work, dedication, sacrifices, and realistically, she will need to get academic scholarships and athletic college scholarships. Taylor has planned, set goals, and put in hard work she knows will help her achieve these dreams. Unfortunately, what she did not plan for was her access and ability to achieve her short-term goals and dreams of being on the BHS co-ed cheerleading team, and Blackman Collegiate Academy could be taken away from her by having to switch schools upon entering high school. High school is difficult enough, and I can't imagine her having to start over with no friends at that school and at the same time replan for her future and how she's going to get there. As you can tell, I'm very proud of my daughter and passionate of everything that she does and support her. But I share her story so that you can hear her voice is heard, and because I know her story is not the only one like this. There are many students, athletes that have grown up with Blackman pride and spirit and goals of being on the Blackman High School athletic teams, propelling them into college athletic program and opportunities for scholarships. My ask is that you reconsider grandfathering in those students that have attended Blackman schools for 5 or more years, or honest students and/or athletes that are zoned Blackman Middle under the current proposed zoning that will not have the opportunity to attend Blackman High School as planned and desired. If the proposed grandfathering rule option is not an option, we live in one of the communities that is actually closer to Blackman High School than Rockvale High School, and would like for it to be considered dual zoned, so that there's an option for these students, as that is the trajectory from Blackman Middle to, it was Blackman High School, but now Rockvale High School now at this time. I know this is a very difficult decision for you all. I appreciate the opportunity to voice our concerns and our children's desires. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Nolan. I live at 3935 Confederate Road, one of the subdivisions that's 2 miles from the parking lot of Blackman High School, and I was the one that mailed you all the packet to each of your homes. And I represent the, I believe that's my fellow neighbor that I did not know, the Rucker Lane corridor west from like Veterans Parkway up through Kingwood Lane. I want to talk specifically about those below that 96 line where it's just sprinkled over that. There are just within the last 4 years, we're talking about roughly 43 to 50 kids that are affected of having to go to Rockvale High School. Those kids specifically are zoned currently for Rockvale Elementary, Blackman Middle, and Blackman High School. So it's like they're just constantly flip-flopped, and they cannot benefit from either the Rockvale cluster or the Blackman cluster. We put a huge emphasis on that in our community, but our kids are not going to be able to benefit from that. As of right now, we do have 449, which is just one more signature than what I told you we had. But even though we only have less than 50 students that we're talking about specifically, again, that are Rockvale Elementary, Blackman Middle, and Blackman High, we have our community and friends and family behind us. And I think 449 signatures pretty much says that, yes, we're not crazy for thinking the way that we think. Ms. Johnson might actually have a little bit, I spoke with you last week, you might have more exact numbers. I don't know if you could answer my questions right now or not, but I'm hoping that that's somewhere within the ballpark, less than 50 students that we're talking about. That is 2 miles away from Blackman High School. As far as the BCA, I can say thank you. I do have a 9th grader, so thank you to that for grandfathering her. But I have a 7th grader who is being groomed because she goes to Blackman Middle School. That's all that these kids hear about, being groomed to go to the BCA. And now, some of them are not even going to get that opportunity that their friends are going to get just simply because they're going to a different high school. So that's pretty disheartening. Again, dual zoning would be an option. I'm completely fine with taking my kids to school, and I know other people would be. Some board members have said to me, well, they can take the bus. If every single student in this county took a school bus, you all couldn't afford to fund that. So you do need some parents to drive, and I'm one of those amongst several that are willing to do it. I'm not going to reiterate what was in the packet. You know it. You can look over it. But I just wanted to let you know that we still stand with the way that we feel, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Lane, and I reside at 114 Casper Court, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Currently, I have a freshman at Riverdale, and so far our experience has been great. The concern I have is that at Riverdale, we're not right now at like 25.5 free and reduced lunch, and this was as of October 5th. I read an article that on October 26th of 2018 that was written by the D&J, and they had presented percentages of free and reduced lunch should the proposed zoning occur. And when I read the article, it said that Blackman would be at 23% of free and reduced lunch, Rockvale would be at 23.8%, Eagleville would be at 23%, Oakland would be at 29%, Siegel would be at 24.3%, and Riverdale would go up to 34%. I'm not including Smyrna and Laverne because I'm focused more on the core schools within Murfreesboro because it affects all of us. My concern and what I really just want to find out is the rationale that Riverdale, which is our oldest school that has the most open campus, when it comes to the resources for our teachers, why you know, we're getting this increase. You know, is there an advantage to this? My concern as a parent is when Rockvale opens up, are the teachers at Riverdale, will we be able to retain the great teachers that we have? I just don't understand. It doesn't seem balanced. It doesn't seem equitable. And I thought that you guys could maybe speak to that tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, I can speak for it. I worked at Riverdale from 2000 to 2008. We've been over 35% during that tenure that I was there. Really, these numbers that were thrown out as far as the free and reduced lunch, that's fluid. I mean, that could be lower, that could be much lower, maybe, you know, I mean, it's kind of fluid. And when you're talking about the difference between 29 and 34, you're not talking, and especially when you reduce your population, you know, he's basing everything off of what currently is, and once again, it doesn't get into the grandfathering, it doesn't get into all that stuff, yeah.
You know, I guess, again, you know, my concern is, you know, and I'm speaking for all the
Right.
people in Rutherford County, it appears that the higher the socioeconomic level you get, you know, the better school access you have. Mm-hmm. And it should not be that way for any of our students in Rutherford County, because we're better than that when it comes to the county as well as the citizens. And so that's just what I just wanted to just put out there.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon. My name's Natasha DeLeon, and I live at 113 Bentgrass Court, currently Riverdale. I moved into that subdivision in 2009 to raise my 3 kids. I've had the property taxes and everything else that goes with it, but my goal was to keep my children in a stable environment. My son is 23 as of 2 days ago. He's currently active on the Gerald R. Ford. He is a Riverdale High School graduate. He also was in their dual enrollment program. I currently have 2 15-year-olds at Riverdale High School. They are involved in marching band, skills, wrestling, debate team, somewhere along the line, blacksmithing. And that's what my neighborhood has produced. And I am a single mom, and I'm here to tell you that those 3 children have given me my fair share of trials and tribulations. And I couldn't have got through any of it without the support of my community and Riverdale High School, regardless of how old or broken that school may be. That school knows my children through dealing with my 23-year-old to now my feisty 15-year-olds. And I could not have done any of that without that type of kick support that I've been able to give my kids a stable environment. And that's really the only thing that I propose is, you know, currently Rockvale High School doesn't offer dual enrollment. I don't know about any of the other programs, but something to consider to either A, allow freshman matriculation into Rockvale High School, or 2, to consider the students that are invested in these groups that build your community, that have the support, and are very proud and have been, and know to yell, Dale, yeah, when something happens for our kids. And it doesn't matter whose kid. And yes, you can get that support out of Rockvale High School, but think about the kids that have already been vested, are stable, and moms like me that, I'll be honest with you, it's a wild ride. And it's something to think about instead of having to shift so many kids around with so much new construction within eye view of Riverdale High School. You know, I guess my other question would be, when do we have to revisit this rezoning issue again? So some consideration of maybe a matriculation of freshmen into Rockvale High School.
Thank you. Mr. Looker, would you mind stepping up here and telling us, I know you haven't been on long, but there's a lot of things been going on behind the scenes. Can you kind of give us a little...
Today's my first day, actually. So
is that right? Well, congratulations.
And I know, and I hear this, and I've been through the rezoning with my own children from, you know, when Stewart Creek opened up. You know, I hear a lot of, concerns, a lot about dual enrollment. Currently, Dr. Martin, our secondary supervisor, and Dr. Chastain, who's in one of our, she's over our science, high school science, and also our EPSOs and dual enrollment. We've met twice with MTSU, met with them twice before Christmas to set up the dual enrollment program for Rockvale High School. So it'll be, well, it's going to be just like the other high schools, but of course it's going to be at Rockvale, so we think it's going to be better. We've already met with the we met with the Honors College at MTSU on their campus, so those things are in the work, and I know Dr. Chastain is working on the MOUs for that and the agreements, not only with MTSU, but through TCAT and some of the other post-secondary institutions, so that we can offer those or have those opportunities for our students just like the other high schools. Yes, it won't be the high school that students attended, but we're going to make sure that the transition is going to be minimal, and that's going to be it's a big change moving from one high school to another. I mean, it's emotional. I want to applaud our principals and our students and teachers at these other high schools that have built these types of the trust between the parents and the students and the teachers, and frankly, that's a positive thing that students and parents are concerned about moving to another school. Am I on that 3-minute thing there? So I just keep talking. But, and that just goes to show that our schools are good schools in this county. And just a reminder, Blackman was a new school at one time. Stewart Creek was a new school at one time. Oakland and Riverdale and Seagull, all our schools were brand new schools at one time, and they're very successful, and it didn't take a lot of years for that to happen. I think the experiences that we have and the people that our resources in this county are going to help that be expedited as we open up, and I've got the time right now. Hired 2 assistant principals, 2 guidance counselors that are already working with Blackman and Riverdale mainly to make sure that we're setting up the correct schedules to make that a transition. Is there anything else that I can help with? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, if there's not any more, oh, hold on, okay.
Hi, my name is Allison Smythe, and I reside at 1738 Antebellum Drive. I'd like to thank you guys for listening to us once again, and I think I've emailed several of you actually in the last 24 hours, so thank you for your responses. I'd first of all just like to revisit, and I understand the zoning and the clustering. I'm currently on the south side of 96, and I obviously see all of the homes in my community. As far as the growth in that area, I think specifically between St. Andrews and 96, most of those homes are well established, approximately 15 years old at this point, which is how old our home was. And we're in probably the very back of that area as far as off of Franklin Heights and going back that way. But, and I understand it's easy to draw the line there in 96, but just again, to drive that road every single day and to be we are in city limits in that community. To come out onto 96 and just be 5 minutes from Blackman. I'm a mom of 4. My oldest is a sophomore, rising junior at Blackman. I have a daughter currently in 7th grade at Rockvale Middle, and I have 2 young boys in Scales with the city schools. So, I mean, obviously my kids thought that they were going to go to Blackman, but specifically for my oldest, for my high school son, who is invested in this school, and he's in the marching band, and he's in archery and several clubs, and would just really like an opportunity for this area, if the zoning is not reconsidered, to at least have some opportunity for grandfathering for his junior and senior year, and just maybe some dual zoning at least in that area, because again, a lot of these homes are at least 15 years old, and so there's really no other land in that specific area that is open for development, because it's developed out. So everything else behind us, going south from New Salem and, obviously towards Rucker, there's a lot more land back in that area. But, I see the traffic every day when I take my daughter to Rockvale. I have to go down St. Andrews past Scales, take my boys to school. and then take her out to Rockvale. And, you know, it's 5 minutes to get my son to Blackman, and it takes 15 to 20 to get her to Rockvale. You know, we see that big, beautiful school developing, but it doesn't really mean anything to my high school son. He's here at this school. And I know, you know, obviously there's a lot of reshuffling. You know, a lot of these kids that went to Stewart's Creek, I know went through this, but they're there and they're settled. So if you're moving 1,100 out and 500 in and then another pocket in from another area, you know, it kind of makes sense just to let these kids, you know, that are closer to Blackman stay where they are, rather than moving some out that are obviously, you know, very concerned and would love to stay where they are, versus kids who've already been moved, moving them back in. I just, again, like to ask for the opportunity, at least for some grandfathering for rising juniors, and just for taking into account some of the things that these kids are a part of. And just, you know, obviously as you move out, if you're allowing some to stay, you still, Blackman's always going to be around 2,000. It doesn't seem like a big deal to allow kids who are at least involved in things the opportunity as a junior to stay through their senior year at this school. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any more speakers on the Rockvale zoning? So that we can kind of make this, I think we clarified it, but a little bit more easy to understand. When we're talking about moving out and moving in, we are reducing the enrollment of these schools. It's like a Ferris wheel. We're moving them out, but it's a bigger chunk. We're moving out, and what it's doing is it's alleviating overcrowdedness and all these, and which makes it a little bit more challenging. What are we talking about now? 4 schools, 4 high schools? Mm-hmm. So it makes it kind of challenging. You know, obviously, when we look at our building program, we know that growth is occurring all over the county, quite frankly. There's some areas that we do know that in the western end of the county, that's where we're seeing the greatest growth. And I think even Blackman was identified as one of the Blackman area, one of the fastest growing in population, I think, in the state of Tennessee. So there's a you know, people want to come here, and it creates some issues for us. And these are the kind of things we don't like to do, because I will agree with what was stated here earlier. I mean, it's great as director of school to see the passion that we have for our schools, and I do understand that. I would very much prefer to hear those things that you're saying about your school than something negative, so I do applaud you for that, and I know this is not very easy. This time we'll go ahead and start with our Rocky Fork Elementary proposal, right?
Yes. Okay. So the elementary program affects mainly the town of Smyrna, slightly into Cedar Grove, which is going to be on the Laverne side of San Bernardino Parkway. Give you an idea of what that looks like right now. That would be our current zoning for those affected schools. So right now, Cedar Grove stands at over 1,000, they're at about 1,070. David Urey is currently at, sorry, I lost my place. Stewartsboro is at 912. Smyrna Primary would be at 676. Smyrna Elementary School is at 816. And David Urey's at 786. So we had to make a lot of changes in this area to accommodate for a brand new elementary school. One of the goals of this brand new elementary school is that David Urey does not, right now, the facility itself does not fall within its own zone. It sits across Old Nashville Highway from its zone, which is this pink area. So what we wanted to do in redoing this area is Rocky Fork Middle School is here, and the elementary school would be on its side. So if we simply take all those students that are currently in David Urey, you would have what makes up the new elementary school zone for Rocky Fork Elementary. So the new zoning is going to look something similar to this. So in doing this, the David Urey Elementary School essentially stays the exact same number it was. We're going to reduce Cedar Grove Elementary School by 221 just by taking off the top from San Ridley Parkway. Another 517 that are currently at Smyrna Primary School will be combined with this 221, and that will be the new David Urey Elementary School site. In the southern part of this area, currently we have a small contingent that comes from Thurman Francis that are traditional students. Thurman Francis is a magnet school. In order to maintain just that magnet program at that school, these students are being redivided. 122 of those students that are in the traditional program will now make up part of the Smyrna Primary Zone, along with its core of 147 students. Another 77 will be taken out of Smyrna Elementary School. And a larger section to the east of the Nissan plant will make up another 229. The lower half of the Thurman Francis zone is about 78 students. That will then be combined with the Stewartsboro Elementary School. So to make up, to tell you what all this means, basically Stewartsboro will be 655. Smyrna Primary School will be 637. Smyrna Elementary School will be 767. David Urey again stays the same, or, well, actually, Rocky Fork takes over David Urey for 786. David Urey then becomes a new zone, and they're at 738, and Cedar Grove is reduced to 764.
As I'm looking at this map on the 78, am I seeing that they're directly across from Stewartsboro?
Yes, sir, they actually are right across the street from Stewartsboro.
They were at Thurman Francis.
Yeah, and there's actually, you know, as far as traffic is concerned, right now, that whole community either has to come out onto the main highway at Lee Victory and work their way back to the school, or they have to take a right into traffic. This way they can be right at that or that stoplight and go straight across to the school.
One of the things that we did with that zone is creating a true complete magnet down on the northern end of the county, and this will open up some more seats for those that qualify for the program and that are actually on the waiting list right now. All right. Okay. Is there anything else? Yes. All right, anyone that would like to speak upon the Rocky Fork Elementary rezoning, welcome to come to the lectern there.
No one to speak. I guess we'll just move right along here. All right, this portion, we're going to have the opportunity for board members to ask questions on zoning. If you've got any numbers, questions on any of the zoning areas, That's what Mr. Morgan's here for, answer our questions. I know they've been good about sending us numbers, and we've got a lot of numbers. And, okay. Anybody got any questions for him? Got anything, Mr. Young?
I'm just studying the map.
Just studying it.
Okay. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Morgan. Each time we've asked him to change something and show us how it impacts, we appreciate that. It's not easy.
That's true. And he's given us a lot of information. I know as board members have always, even though we may not get back to you on your email, we have read them. We've asked questions about them for, I know, 3 months. I know Mr. Morgan's worked on it for 2 years. I don't know whether to say it's a good thing or a bad thing, but this could happen again in 6 years if we keep growing like we're growing. It's not an easy decision for us because we do not, nobody on this table up here wants to hurt any child. And some pretty hard decisions that we have to think over and make. And we have to make the best decision we can for the total county. So we appreciate your input, and hopefully we'll make everybody happy and not too many unhappy maybe, but we do appreciate you coming. And if there's no other questions, I have one other thing. And I forgot to do this at the last meeting, and apologize to Ms. Moore. I wanted to thank you for the meeting we had the other night with the legislators. Fine job you did. And we appreciate it. Hopefully that gets our foot in the door with the legislatures.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other business? Okay. We'll be adjourned.